We begin this morning with breaking news. After a special meeting of the UW Board of Regents, Joe Gow is out at UW La Crosse as chancellor. The unanimous decision to remove Gow from his leadership position comes on the recommendation of UW President Jay Rothman. In a statement, Rothman called the actions that led to Gow's termination abhorrent and says they subjected the university to significant reputational harm. UW System Regent President Karen Walsh added, "We are alarmed and disgusted by his actions, which were wholly and undeniably inconsistent with his role as chancellor." We reached out to the university for confirmation as to what those actions are, but did not hear anything back. A report in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel links to an account on X, formerly known as Twitter, called Sexy Healthy Cooking, that features Gow and his wife and hints at explicit scenes on websites such as Loyal Fans and OnlyFans. Under the names of Jerry and Jay Hart, they were also publishing 2 books about their experiences in the adult industry. In the About the Author section online, a photo shows both Gow and his wife and indicates videos can be found on pornographic websites. Now, Gow previously announced he would be stepping down and serving in a faculty role at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, but Rothman's statement indicates the future is now under review. In its own response to the vote, UW-La Crosse has named Provost Betsy Morgan as the interim chancellor. Morgan has served more than 30 years as a UWL faculty member and has been provost and vice chancellor for academic affairs since 2017. In a message to students, Morgan said, "I'm honored to serve the students, faculty, and staff of UW-La Crosse in this interim time while the university searches for a new permanent chancellor. I also want to acknowledge how challenging it is for the campus to face such a time like this on a short notice." You can stay with News 19 on all of our platforms, including our news app, for further updates. In light of his removal as UWL chancellor and possible review of his tenure as a UW-La Crosse faculty member, supporters are stepping up and petitioning to reinstate Joe Gow to his leadership post. First, to recap, the UW Board of Regents met in a closed session Wednesday night and voted unanimously to terminate Gow as chancellor. After it was discovered Gow and his wife, former UWL professor Carmen Wilson, made and appeared together in a number of pornographic videos over the last several years. The Change.org petition created Wednesday night by Carmen Seabruch claims Gow was terminated unfairly Wednesday. At last check, more than 300 people have signed. Some chose to give reasons for their support, such as Heidi Zoll. She wrote today that we are not our jobs 24/7, and if anything, a sex-positive chancellor will be a welcome example for many. Ken Elliott also signed the petition that is, and wrote in part, "The board may not have liked it, but they are plenty of people at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse who engage in activities within their First Amendment rights that others may find questionable, but they are not disciplined." For his part, Dr. Gow shared with us a statement that says, "I am deeply troubled that I received no due process from the Board of Regents. I was not informed of the policy that I violated, nor was I given a hearing to present my side of this case. Moreover, the Regents appear to be overlooking the fact that books and videos my wife and I have produced are protected under the First Amendment, as well as the Regents' own commitment to academic freedom and freedom of expression." Now, UW President Jay Rothman responded to Gow's comments in an email to the Associated Press. Rothman said in part that Gow mistakenly believes the First Amendment is a free pass to do or say anything he pleases. Rothman went on to say there must be limits on what is said or done by people in leadership positions, and that Dr. Gow should know that he serves as the pleasure of the Regents, who again voted unanimously Wednesday night to remove him as chancellor at UWL. So what's the next steps for UW-La Crosse? Well, we spoke with Lee Rash of Leader Ethics, an expert in ethical matters. He says while Gow's actions weren't illegal, they're having an impact.
Let me say this. The situation is saddening. We all make judgments that can have negative outcomes. But as leaders, we also carry the weight of our organizations on our shoulders. Therefore, in terms of our judgments, it's not a question of what we can do, rather what we should do.
In wake of Gow's removal as chancellor, Provost Betsy Morgan was approved as interim. Morgan, in turn, sent a message to all UWL students saying she's fully acknowledging how challenging it is for the campus to face a change like this in a short notice. We also now know the regents will be meeting in another closed session meeting this morning to discuss ongoing personnel matters with legal counsel. There's an effort moving forward now to keep Donald Trump from being on the presidential ballot in Wisconsin. The owner of the Monaqua Brewing Company and founder of its super PAC, Kirk Bangstad, filed a complaint with the Wisconsin Elections Commission Thursday. Bangstad cited a section in the 14th Amendment which says if you take an oath to uphold the Constitution but then take part in an insurrection, you are not allowed to run for federal office.
I'm simply a brewer from northern Wisconsin, but I care about my country and I care about democracy, and so that's why I am doing this.
Thuick has already thrown out the compliment without consideration because any compliment against commissioners directly warrants a recusal. In addition, the commission doesn't have a role in putting candidates on the ballot. Bangstad says that the move was expected and it clears the way for the next steps, which he expects will ultimately lead to the state Supreme Court. The Secretary of State in Maine has joined Colorado in deciding that Donald Trump is ineligible to be president. The unprecedented decisions will head to the Supreme Court for a final ruling. ABC News' Rachel Bade has more.
For the second time this month, a U.S. state booting former President Donald Trump from the ballot, citing the Constitution's insurrection clause. Attorneys representing a Republican, a Democrat, and an independent cited the Civil War-era provision as justification for kicking Mr. Trump off the ballot.
We believe former President Trump on January 6th engaged in an insurrection against the Constitution of the United States. And under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, that disqualifies him from holding the office of the presidency.
And President Trump's legal team citing other secretaries of state who passed on removing him from the ballot.
All of whom have been asked to engage in this type of in a disqualification, and every administrative official has declined to do that for good reason.
Ultimately, Maine's Secretary of State ruled the former president ineligible.
When we looked at the weight of evidence, it became clear that January 6th was an attack not only on the Capitol, on government officials, but also an attack on the rule of law.
ABC News contributor John Katko, a former Republican congressman who bucked his own party to impeach Trump following January 6th, disagreed with the ruling.
It seems downright un-American, and quite frankly, I'm not a big fan of President Trump.
The decision follows a similar ruling in Colorado, which has been stayed until the U.S. Supreme Court makes the final call. Trump spokesman Stephen Chung blasting the decision, saying we are witnessing in real time the attempted theft of an election and personally attacking the Maine Secretary of State, a Democrat, as a leftist. Overnight, California's Secretary of State announced that Trump would remain on the ballot despite calls from the lieutenant governor to remove him. It all underscores the divide even in the Democratic Party over this controversial issue. Rachel Bade, ABC News, Washington.
Back here in Wisconsin, flags will be flying at half-staff for the next few weeks to honor the late former Senator Herb Kohl. Governor Tony Evers' order that it will remain in effect until internment, which is expected sometime in January.